They say when the rains fall in Egba, old memories rise from the soil. And that morning, as thunder grumbled over red clay rooftops, a quiet tailor met a woman who carried grief in her hands and love in her silence. Because the sound of rain can awaken many things, memories, longing, and sometimes a love you never saw coming. In the heart of Egba, one man's gentle craft and one woman's sorrow collided beneath a storm. What began as a simple request for a burial blouse became a journey of healing, destiny, and love that asks for nothing in return. This is the story of Bamidele, the quiet hand, and the woman who changed the rhythm of his stitches forever. When the rains fell in Egba. Hello, dear family. Welcome to Echoes and Tales. Kindly hit that subscribe button and give us a like. It truly means the world to us. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and loved ones. And be sure to turn on post notifications so you never miss our upcoming stories. We truly appreciate your support. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into the tale. In the heart of Egba, where dawn poured like palm wine over red clay roofs, a small tailoring shop sat quietly between Mama Yatun's Acra stall and a mechanic's noisy shed. Its roof was corrugated zinc, its lime-washed walls freckled by time. A fading wooden sign above the door read, "Deli Fine Tailoring." Inside, dust motes floated in sunbeams like lazy spirits. A single Singer sewing machine sat before an open window, its iron wheel worn smooth from years of use. Fabrics fluttered gently from every wooden beam. Ankara in sunrise oranges, a dyer dyed river deep, and osso oak with threads of hidden gold. Bamidele, the tailor, was a lean man in his 30s, skinned the warm brown of newly fired clay. Chalk dust streaked his knuckles, and a tape measure draped his neck like a priest's stole. They called him the Quiet Hand, not because he lacked words, but because his stitches said more than speech ever could. The neighbors believed that when Bamidele sewed, you could hear stories humming beneath every needle stroke. Above the sewing machine hung a framed black and white photograph of his late father, smiling in a buba, palm resting on the very same Singer now under Bamidele's hands. Beneath the frame sat a small calabash filled with kola nuts, an offering of gratitude, left every morning without fail. That Wednesday morning, while hemming school uniforms, Bamidele heard storm clouds grumble above Egba. The first raindrops tapped against the zinc roof, each one sounding like a tiny gong announcing change. As he leaned into the foot pedal, the door creaked. She stepped in. Her name was Mareo, around 27. She was tall, graceful even in grief. Her iro and buba were a muted yellow, their edges frayed from too many rushed washings. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but clear, like someone who had cried all night, yet refused to shatter. In her hands, she clutched a folded bundle of white lace. "I need a blouse," she said quietly, "for my mother's burial, 3 days from now." For a fleeting moment, Bamidele's heart skipped, as if the Singer's needle had jammed, but his face showed no change. He simply nodded. "It will be ready," he said. She hesitated before placing the lace on the cutting table, then gave a faint, awkward bow and backed into the gray drizzle outside. The door clicked shut behind her. The rain grew stronger. The shop felt different now, as though the very air had been charged, like fabric rubbed with amber. Bamidele picked up the folded lace and ran his fingers across it. The cloth was delicate, hand-loomed, faintly scented with lemongrass, soap, and unshed tears. Grief, he realized, had been woven into every tiny hole. For the first time in years, the quiet hand trembled. That evening, as thunder rolled across the town, Bamidele worked by lantern light. He traced Mareo's measurements, shoulder, bust, waist, on a brown pattern paper. Every pencil line was drawn with reverence, as precise as a prayer. He chose his father's favorite stitch, the tiniest, most meticulous backstitch, the one he had called the stitch of endurance. With every push of the needle through lace, memories surfaced, his mother's laughter when fabric slipped, his father's relentless cough behind the Singer, the day cholera stole them both in a single moon. Lost at a cent, Bamidele thought. You believed it fated, But then the rain came and called it back. Outside, gutters overflowed. Inside, rainwater crept under the door, pooling beneath his work table. Still, he kept sewing. He sewed until his fingers went numb, as if pursuing a purpose he didn't fully understand. Near midnight, he finally held the finished blouse to his chest. Its sleeves were angelic, its cuffs scalloped like river foam. "Sleep well, he whispered, though whether he meant Moreo's mother or his own, even he wasn't sure. He gently draped the blouse on a headless mannequin and blew out the lantern. 3 days later, the rain eased and sunlight crept back into Egba in shy patches. Moreo arrived at the shop right on time. Her posture still bore the weight of mourning. "Try it on behind the curtain, please," Bamidele said softly. She disappeared behind the cloth partition. The seconds stretched thin. Then she stepped out. The blouse fit like it had been born on her skin. For the first time, Bamidele saw a flicker of light behind the grief in her eyes. "It's perfect," she said, her voice cracking. She would have loved this. Tears brimmed. Bamidele pulled a small handkerchief from his pocket, a square of indigo attire edged with white stars. She dabbed at her face, slightly embarrassed. Her stomach growled. "You haven't eaten?" Bamidele asked, clearing his throat. "Mama Yatun's akara is still hot. Please join me." Outside, the clouds parted just enough to show a slab of blue. They sat on a low wall beside Mama Yatun's stall, where oil bubbled and bean cake sizzled. Moreo ate slowly, savoring each bite like she was tasting a memory. "My mother dreamed of seeing the world," she said softly. "Paris, Milan, but illness chained her here to Egba." "And you?" he asked. "Designing clothes that speak without words. Traveling. Maybe Italy, the birthplace of fashion." She laughed at herself, self-conscious. He listened closely. In her dream, he heard his father's old wisdom. A good tailor listens first, sews later. Rainwater slid from the rooftops in narrow streams. By the time they shared the third akara, Moreo's voice had steadied. They talked of fabric markets and favorite soups, of childhood games and market day chaos. When she rose to leave, she offered the handkerchief back, but he refused. "Keep it," Bamidele said, "for the journey home." She smiled, a small smile, yet radiant like sunrise. That smile stayed with him all week. It warmed the quiet shop. It softened the whir of the Singer machine. It lingered in every bobbin change. He did not know yet that grief, when shared, could become a bridge, and that across that bridge, two fates were already walking. Kudo burst into color and chaos that Saturday, as it always did. The market swelled like ripe pawpaw, loud, fragrant, joyful. Traders called out their prices with urgency. Goats bleated. Children wove between stalls with reckless delight. High-life music floated from an old radio, competing with the sounds of bargaining and laughter. 2 weeks had passed since the burial. And then, through the bustle, Moreo appeared. She clutched a small shopping list in one hand, and a shy grin tugged at her lips. Near a zipper stall, she spotted Bamidele, fingers grazing threads with the concentration of surgeon. "Which seamstress sent you?" "Tailor man?" she asked, teasing. He chuckled. "The one who still owes me akara." And just like that, the rhythm returned. They moved through the market together with an ease that startled even them. She bought Adarodo. He haggled over lining fabric. She argued over the price of melon seeds. He countered with mock indignation. Their laughter wove through the air like thread through cloth. At every stall, they stitched themselves deeper into each other's day. By noon, they took refuge beneath a wide umbrella beside a griot plucking softly at a kora. There, over roasted corn, they shared small truths, favorite Yoruba proverbs, the mischief of village masquerades, how the Egba air smelled like cocoa pods just before dusk. Around them, the market surged and ebbed, but time slowed for Bamidele. It was as though his wristwatch had surrendered to something more ancient than seconds. By evening, it seemed everyone had taken notice. Deli and Moreo had become a duet. On their walk home, she swung her basket and tilted her head toward him. "Do you believe in destiny?" He glanced at her. Her cheekbones were carved like Ife bronze, her eyes catching the golden light of sunset. I believe in good stitches, he said slowly. They hold what's meant to be held. She laughed, a bright, clear sound that startled a nearby cluster of pigeons into flight. And in that laugh, Egba gained a new melody. Just beyond the last row of mud houses stood an ancient mango tree. Locals said it was older than the colonial railways, older, perhaps, than Egba itself. Its thick trunk bent sideways like a resting elder, forming a natural bench beneath a canopy that spread like a giant green umbrella. Moreo discovered it first while wandering for inspiration. One Sunday after church, she dragged Bamidele there by the hand. "See," she said, breathless. "Perfect. A secret studio under the sky." She spread out sketch paper and charcoal pencils across a wrapper she laid on the earth. Beside them lay 4 pieces of ochre she had dyed herself. Sunset orange, rainfall gray, thundercloud purple, harmattan white. Bamidele brought along his travel sewing kit and a small radio tuned to Fella's "Water No Get Enemy." And there, beneath the tree, hours melted away. She sketched silhouettes, any hand-stitched patch pockets on a scrap cloth, demonstrating the difference between decorative and hidden seams. Sometimes they spoke, exploring the meanings behind Yoruba attire symbols. Other times, they simply sat in silence, letting the wind and birds speak on their behalf. As afternoon shadows stretched, Moreo dozed off against the trunk. Bamidele watched her sleeping face, cheeks dappled by sunlight through mango leaves, and thought, if days could be preserved like cassava, I would keep this one forever. At sunset, she stirred, cheeks imprinted with bark. They packed up their tools and supplies. Under the first evening star, she turned to him suddenly. "Do you believe in forever, Deli?" He hesitated. Forever was a big word. Too big for a man whose parents had disappeared like pages torn from a book. "I believe in this moment, and maybe the next," he replied softly. She nodded. Her eyes reflected the light of fireflies beginning to blink across the dusk. Then she leaned her head gently onto his shoulder. They stayed that way, wrapped in stillness, until the night insects began their chorus. The months slid by like a well-oiled wheel. Some days, they met at the mango tree with no agenda, just fabric between them and the hum of passing time. On others, they wandered the market together, Moreo fingering imported silks she could not yet afford, Bamidele pretending not to notice the way she dreamed with her eyes. One harmattan afternoon, she brought him a shirt she had sewn herself, hand-stitched, slightly uneven at the collar. "It's not perfect," she said, embarrassed. Bamidele slipped it on, the pale blue soft against his skin. "It's better than perfect," he replied. "It speaks." They laughed more easily now, moving in rhythm without effort, like 2 hands guiding the same cloth under a single needle. By the 6th month, Bamidele's quiet heart had found its voice, even if only in private. It roared with intent. He began saving every spare naira. He skipped lunches, took extra commissions hemming choir robes and mending old Egbadas. In April, he traveled to Abeokuta and visited a goldsmith. There, he purchased a simple silver ring, the letter etched discreetly inside, small enough to whisper, strong enough to promise. Under the mango tree, he rehearsed. He pictured her gasp, her tears, her fingers trembling. He imagined a future shared, 2 sewing machines side by side, a studio painted coral, children chasing chickens behind the shop. Then the day came. Harmattan had lifted. The sky was the purest blue. He cooked ayame stew, packed a bottle of palm wine, and smoothed the kink cloth beneath the tree's shade. But Moreo arrived earlier than expected. Her eyes were glowing. In her hands, she clutched a letter, trembling with disbelief and joy. "Deli, I got it," she said breathlessly. "The scholarship. Full ride. Accademia di Moda, Milano." She unfolded the letter. Official crests, Italian signatures, the promise of a different sky. Bamidele's mind went blank. The ring in his pocket suddenly felt heavier than iron. "That's wonderful," he said, voice careful. "When?" 3 weeks. Orientation starts in May. Just 1 year. I'll return. There was no thunder in the sky, but still he heard it inside his chest. He reached into his pocket and drew out the ring, revealing it on his open palm. Her breath caught. Deli, I wanted to ask, but dreams shouldn't be cages, he said, throat tight. If you go, go free. If you stay, stay free. This ring means only that you have a home in my heart, whichever road you choose. Tears filled her eyes. She touched the ring, tenderly, reverently, but did not slip it on. I love you, she whispered. But Milan, it's my mother's unfinished song. I have to sing it. The setting sun turned them amber. Two paths opened before them, one across oceans, the other rooted in red earth. Moreo tucked the ring back in his palm, then closed his fingers around it. She held his hand to her cheek. A single mango dropped from the tree beside them with a soft thud. The mango tree said nothing, but it bore witness to a promise unspoken and a goodbye not yet begun. The IMAs cooled, untouched. The radio, forgotten in the dust, played a love song for no one at all. The days that followed passed like a quiet storm. No thunder, but everything moved. Moreo's world was suddenly filled with lists and visas, tailors to notify, measurements to transfer, a passport to collect, and a suitcase that seemed too small for everything she wanted to carry. She moved through Kudo like someone in a waking dream, present but halfway airborne. Bamidele remained steady. He helped her sort fabrics, labeling them with masking tape and black ink. He traced her sewing patterns on a brown paper for safekeeping. They sat cross-legged under the mango tree one last time, hands occasionally brushing over folded ankara, like two weavers trying not to tangle the thread of their remaining days. They didn't speak of the ring again. It lived quietly in his drawer now, beside the silver thimble he had inherited from his mother. 3 nights before her flight, the town organized a farewell gathering in front of Mama Ajokesbuka. It was small but heartfelt. Neighbors, local traders, and the church choir she had once mended uniforms for. Children lined up to hug her, leaving streaks of groundnut oil on her wrapper. Even the old security guard from the school gate came and gave her a dusty red hibiscus flower wrapped in newspaper. Auntie Ronk, eyes glistening, handed her a new Singer sewing machine, gifted by the Market Women Association. Moreo cried openly, clutching the box as if it contained her entire childhood. That night, as the gathering dispersed, Moreo and Bamidele stood by the iron gate of her compound. The moon was high, casting shadows long and uncertain. I don't know what to do with this ache, she admitted softly. He touched her cheek. Let's stay. Some aches are proof of love. You don't heal them, you carry them. She leaned into him, her forehead resting against his chest. Will you wait? Bamidele didn't answer immediately. His silence was not hesitation, it was wait. When he finally spoke, it was with a calm rooted deep. I will live. I will sew. I will breathe. And if destiny brings you back, I will still be here. No promises. Just truth. They parted without ceremony. No liningerinkis. No poetry. Just one last look, a tapestry of every moment stitched between them. At the airport, Moreo turned once after security. She scanned the crowd, but Bamidele wasn't there. What she didn't know was that he had come earlier. He had stood behind a pillar near the entrance, watching from afar as she embraced Auntie Ronk and checked her bags. He had memorized her face in that moment. Confident, nervous, radiant. He watched until she disappeared into the terminal. Then he turned and walked home under the weight of a sky that seemed too wide. The mango tree outlived the departure. Seasons changed. Egba danced through rain and harmattan, through Christmas parades and mosquito nights. But beneath the tree, Bamidele stitched quietly. His business grew modestly. He became known for clean lines and patient hands. The old women in the market began to say, that tailor, he's stitched by the gods. He kept a notebook she had left behind, filled with sketches and scribbled dreams. Every now and then, he'd draw one design into life, sew it, and hang it by his window. They were never for sale. A year passed. Then 2. Moreo sent postcards. Short notes from Milan, then Florence, then Rome. Words like tiring, thrilling, and lonely began to appear. The last one said only, I saw a mango tree today, but it wasn't ours. I hope your thread is still strong. M underscore. And then silence. Bamidele never remarried. He never stopped sewing. And the ring, still silver, still smooth, remained in his drawer beside his thimble. Not because he was waiting for her, but because some stories are too complete to be rewritten. He built a studio eventually, right behind his mother's old hut, painted it coral, placed 2 sewing machines inside, though one always sat quiet, untouched, waiting without expectation. And every dry season, when mangoes dropped like golden secrets, he would sit under that same tree and eat one in silence. Sometimes he would look up, as if expecting her shadow in the distance, not with longing, but with peace, because even though she left, her laughter had never departed. It still rustled the leaves. It still stirred the silence. It still warmed the seam of his spirit like morning sun on cotton cloth. And so the tailor of Kudo, stitched by love and memory, kept sewing, each thread a prayer, each hem a story, each garment a quiet act of hope. Moral of the story: people come and go, but the moments we share, the lessons we learn, and the love we give are what truly remain. When the rains fell in Egba, teaches us that trying to hold on to people can lead to grief, but honoring the time, love, and memories we shared with them allows healing to bloom. It reminds us that life is a flow of seasons. Some people are meant to pass through, not stay forever. And that's okay. Key lessons: appreciate the present moment instead of clinging to permanence. Love without possession. What's real doesn't need to be owned. Letting go isn't losing. Sometimes it's the only way to grow. Healing happens when we stop asking why they left and start honoring why they came. That brings us to the end of the story. What lesson did you take from it? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you'll know whenever we release a new video. Also, feel free to share this with someone who might enjoy it. Thank you so much.